My name is Mamdani. I'm Vice President of Data Science and Advanced Analytics and scientist at the Lee Cushing Knowledge Institute. So healthcare is all about data. It's about understanding all the sorts of data that go into decision-making around what a diagnosis is, what the prognosis is, how we treat a patient. Unfortunately, data is complex. The average complex medical decision considers about 1,000 parameters, and the average human can only process 7 plus or minus 2 things at the same time. What if we could use artificial intelligence to actually help us make decisions, better decisions for patients? I can see AI being a clinical assistant to our doctors to be able to assemble and identify patients who may need certain types of therapies versus others. I can also see AI automating a lot of the things that we normally really struggle with, and they're just really mundane tasks to free up time so we can actually see patients. There's tremendous potential for AI to then be applied in a more meaningful way clinically to help our clinicians predict and, first of all, diagnose disease and then predict outcomes. We often push our clinicians to be better, to do better. And we have to step back and say, they're already doing better and they're being better. Of course, we can always continuously improve, but there are human limits. And I think AI can extend those limits and help us in a meaningful way to provide so much better care to patients, the care that patients deserve. One of the projects, this is probably our most popular one, we call it ChartWatch. The scenario is that about 1 out of 12 general internal medicine patients will either die or need intensive care. And in many cases, we don't know who they are. They often come as a surprise to us. And typically we have hours to react, and that's really not enough time. So our internal medicine team came to us and they had said, if we could actually predict at least 24 hours in advance if somebody's going to die or go to the ICU, that would be really helpful. So we actually have ChartWatch up and running. It's been running for over a year now, where every hour on the hour, we have an artificial intelligence algorithm that grabs data for all of our general internal medicine patients, and it predicts at least 24 hours in advance if that patient is going to die or go to the ICU. There are numerous examples of how we've been able to leverage AI during the pandemic. So very simple things like, can we actually leverage our data to actually identify exactly where our patients are, how many we have with COVID, and do it in a timely manner? So we've actually constructed an algorithm to be able to rapidly extract data and every hour on the hour update our data so we know exactly which patients we have, where they're located, and to do some analyses around trends. We have many, many interesting projects we're working on. I'll highlight one of them. We're calling it the Operations Center, which basically is a very large initiative which tries and follows our patients throughout their patient journey throughout the hospital. And what it does is it gives us practically a real-time view on what's happening with all of our patients at the hospital. It serves as a foundation for us now to start embedding AI to be able to say, hey, we're actually going to be running short on beds in 3 days. So we should be looking at how we can actually manage this situation better. The Angel's Den experience is like nothing else to a researcher especially. The Angel's Den forces you to think out of the research box and into application and why your research matters. And sometimes I feel we don't think about that enough in terms of the relevance to society of the research that we do. And Angel's Den really forces you to say, what is that relevance? Donors allow us to do things that are much more innovative, that are much more beyond the norm, but also in a much faster way. So the ability to be able to leverage a substantial amount of funds to be able to drive innovation, the next gen, something that will transform healthcare. I'm really happy to say that we've been able to develop and deploy over 30 AI solutions into clinical practice. And that has been spectacular because our approach has always been to apply research and data to help patients. And Angel's Den just solidifies that and fuels that into a reality.